Thank you, nephew. Please be seated. Now, some of you have expressed concerns about Bear that is little, that he won't be joining you as a youth yet. But don't be afraid. The cherished grandmothers, cherished uncles, the mothers, they're all spending time with Bear that is little, and we expect that in the next few months or few moons, he'll be joining us as a youth of the clan as well. You, on the other hand, are now youths of the ancient Bear clan. As youths, you will learn the skills that every clan adult must know, as each task is critical to the clan's health, happiness, and harmony. Each clan adult will teach you some aspect, and you will go through it 3 times with different members of the clan. The first time, you'll be the youngest going through the process with an older youth along with the adult. The second time, you will be the older youth going through with a younger youth and another one of the adults of the clan. Never the same adult teaching you the same topic, the second or third time. The third time will actually be intended to teach you how to teach others in the future, and that'll be right about the time that you're going to become an adult yourself. As a clan youth, the things that you're going to be learning will relate to every aspect of our life. You will be taught about how we build our clan homes, how we plan our clan layout, how the village is laid out. You'll learn about our clan crops, what we grow and how we grow them and where we put them. And you'll learn about our hunting grounds, where we have our supply of wild animals that we actually keep very close track of each one, so we know when we can harvest them for our food without overkilling the herds or creating a void in the animals that we have available to us, in addition to those that we hunt in a more wild way, such as the bison. The clan homes are built in a very straightforward process that has been going on for more generations than any of us can remember. In our process, we start with an area where we actually plant trees, specifically where we want to have our clan homes. Now, the Haudenosaunee people to the east and north, they do longhouses where the entire clan sleeps in one particular house. We, on the other hand, have a variety of houses, some for each clan, some for working and having tools, so that we spend those time and those in the day. We seldom spend, as you know, any more time than necessary in the sleeping clan huts, other than to keep them clean and to make sure they're properly supplied with the lizards, the snakes and such that we like to eat the insects, so that we don't have problems with those. After the trees have grown sufficiently, they are bent over and tied together, still as a living tree. And their limbs are stripped from the bottom and from the top to where the only limbs they have are going to the side, and those are stripped of their leaves. These are then woven together along with other tree stumps or tree posts that are go horizontally and some that go vertically. And within that, we weave more branches and then ultimately mats. And depending on whether it's summer, fall, winter, or spring, we change the amount of mats and how they're set up. In the wintertime, we have a set of mats that are over the framework. We then fill that next area, cover the next area with dried leaves, and put another layer of mats over that to create a warmer structure for us to sleep in the wintertime. So that's a basic understanding. They'll teach you exactly how we do that, how we lash everything together, how we interfold things so that they stay even in a heavy windstorm. And you'll learn how those homes are actually put together, as well as the other structures within the village, or within our clan and within the village, because we also have to help building the great clan lodge for the council, or the great village lodge for the council. Now the crops are totally different. We have to clear out a space that's damp enough to maintain the growth of the crops. So we'll put that in an area that's a little bit lower than we want the village, so more water will be in that area. We surround that area with small trees, saplings, and blackberry bushes. Now the reason for the trees and the blackberry bushes is they'll keep out the larger animals such as the deer. They can't get in through that brambling blackberry bush, and it gives the ability to maintain the crops, especially the three sister crops, free of those things that would eat what will be our food later on. The three sisters crops are laid out in a very orderly manner. Small mounds are made out about the length of my arm, and with a space in between them for us to pass through. And at the mound in the middle, we plant the maize. Now technically the maize is there for one purpose only, and that is to support the next crop that gets planted, which four around the maize plant are bean stalks. And the beans grow, and if we let them grow on the ground, the insects would eat all the beans. By wrapping the beans around the corn, as the corn grows up, it lifts the beans up with it and keeps them off the ground, making them easier for us to protect and to maintain our food supply for a longer period. They also give us the greatest amount of food from everything we grow. And then later on, we plant four more plants around those four, the bean plants, that are squash plants. And the squash plants have big leaves that keep weeds from growing around our three sisters crop. And it allows the fall crops of the gourds and squashes to be picked after we've picked the beans and the corn. Now the corn is very fine. We like the corn, the maize. But it's interesting, that was not the purpose of the stalk in the middle. That was to keep the beans up so we could get 10 times, actually 100 times as much food out of the beans as we will out of that one ear of corn, which is why we have that special corn that we all love so much, which is a popcorn. And it's not of great food value, but it's fun to eat. And since that stalk is there primarily to support the beans, there's no reason why we can't plant as many of the popcorn stalks as we want. So this gives you an idea on our planting. Now the potatoes, we plant closer to the village, and they're available to where in the later part of the fall, we'll actually cover the potato plants up with leaves to insulate them so that they keep the ground from freezing there, so we can actually keep the potatoes in the ground as long as we possibly can before the ground gets frozen, and use them as a fresh food even late into the fall and into the almost into the middle of the winter. Tomatoes, on the other hand, we have to grow in another location, more sunlight, and basically we keep them for as long as we can, but then ultimately you'll learn how to can, how to store the tomatoes by taking a log or a stump of wood, carving out the inside and burning out the inside. You start carving it out with whatever you can, and then you chop on it, and then you turn it upside down and you burn it, and then you clean out the burnt wood and keep doing that until you have a bowl. Once you have the bowl and you smooth it out with the smoothing rocks, you can actually cover the inside and the outside of that wood with beeswax. And once you have that beeswax in there, you can take the tomatoes or even the potatoes or even the beans, whatever you want, fill that bowl with the food, and then by putting wax around the top edge and having a flat piece of wood or something that fits over the top of the bowl and covering that with wax, you can actually seal it. And if you seal it properly, the food inside won't rot. So we have that means of storage, and then we have these elevated storage carriers that we can put these into, and those that we're working out of stay closer to the front. Those that we're storing for the longest length we put in the back, and they will keep for the winter, so we have food all the way through the winter. So that's our basic crops. Now the hunting grounds that we claim for our clan and for our village are fairly extensive. As a matter of fact, as you've often seen, you will find one of your uncles or some of your uncles getting up early in the morning And this is long before anybody else gets up. And they'll get dressed and they'll leave. That's because they have to walk from the village all the way out to the hunting grounds, which takes them about 4 hours, roughly 1/3 of the first part of the day. And they get out to the hunting grounds right at dawn. Now, fortunately, we keep members of our clan, as do all the clans, in the hunting grounds constantly, always watching over the herds of deer and the flocks of turkey, because these are our primary meats. And they stay there if they see a bear or wolves or anything else that might attack our deer or our turkey. They'll send runners, youths like yourself, back to the village, and they will bring the hunters back to drive those animals away, or if those animals have actually killed any of our food stock, the deer or the turkeys, they'll kill that animal. Those who went out there who hunted the animal get to keep the skin, the teeth, the bones. The meat goes to the clan whose deer was actually hurt, and they get to use that in place of the deer that they've lost because of the animal eating it. But it's far better if we can get out there in time to run it away before there's a problem with them getting to our deer supply. We also have the same concern about our honey supply, our bees. If a bear is starting to destroy one of our beehives, we'll go out there and drive it away, because we need the beehives. We need not just the honey, but we need the wax, which is very important to our society. So you'll be able to identify literally every deer in the herds, and each clan might have 2 or 3 herds in different places in the hunting grounds. So you'll be able to identify each one, so you know exactly which ones we're looking for on a particular hunting visit. We don't take just any deer. We only take the young males that are not part of the herding. They're not the males that actually mate with the females to have the young deer, the foal. These are the young males who have no real purpose other than to feed us. And we appreciate that. We thank the deers for being there for us, because once we consume the deer, they become part of us and we become part of them, and we now live the lives together. So this is part of how life goes on. We share by consumption the deer and the turkey, but later on other animals will share our bodies, and then the deer will ultimately eat something that ate the other stuff. So it's a constant cycle of everything living together. So we consume, they consume, and we use what they have, making them part of us. Now, in addition to the hunting grounds, there's also the bison hunts, which are upriver. We always live on near or by a river or a stream, so we can go up the river and we can hunt the bison when they're there, and then bring back 1 or 2 bisons, because they're huge. And we could not go out there and then try and lift and carry all that meat back unless we had a huge group of people. By going up by boat and putting boards across the boat to make a raft, we can load all that bison meat onto that raft and bring it back to the village. That also gives us the ability to take an offspring, create an offspring from the river into a lower area to fill as a pond, and have fish that are drawn into there by the way we build it. And by putting the necessary limbs in, they can only swim in, they can't swim out. And this creates a pond, so we have fish all year round as well. So you'll learn all about this. You'll learn how to hunt ducks, how to hunt the other birds, and you'll learn your jobs in keeping animals out of the agricultural area, how we use snakes that eat the rabbits and this mice and this smaller animals that could get in the ground, and we keep that blackberry bush area underneath it filled with the necessary snakes that don't hurt us, but they eat all the smaller rodent animals that could get into our crops. We also keep snares up all over around our area, around our village, as do all the clans, so we can catch as many of those animals as possible, which is another food supply, but it's also a way of avoiding having them get to our food supply. So hopefully you'll learn over your 3 separate teachings from different people, so you can see different ways of doing it. And then by the time you're finished with the 3rd one, you should be an adult and be able to do it as well. So welcome as a youth to the clan, the great, the ancient Bear Clan, and I look forward to being with you during some of your lessons. Thank you.